The Siege of Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, is one of the most significant events in the history of the medieval world. In 1453, this iconic city, which had stood for over 1,000 years as the heart of Eastern Christianity, fell to the forces of the Ottoman Empire. The fall marked the end of the Byzantine Empire, the last vestige of the Roman Empire, and reshaped the world in profound ways. The city of Constantinople, strategically located between Europe and Asia, had long been a beacon of culture, wealth, and power. Its location on the Bosphorus Strait allowed it to control trade routes between the Mediterranean and Black Sea, making it one of the most important cities in the world. Constantinople was not just a political center, it was also the religious epicenter of Orthodox Christianity. The Hagia Sophia, a grand cathedral and architectural marvel, was a symbol of the empire's spiritual and political dominance. Despite its immense wealth and strategic importance, Constantinople had been under siege for centuries. Its mighty walls, the most advanced fortifications of the time, had held off numerous attackers, including the Arabs, the Crusaders, and the Seljuk Turks. But by the 15th century, the Byzantine Empire had been significantly weakened by internal strife, economic decline, and constant pressure from external enemies. The Ottomans, led by the ambitious and strategic Sultan Mehmed II, saw the fall of Constantinople as a crucial step in their plan to expand their empire and solidify their control over the eastern Mediterranean. Mehmed, a young ruler at the time, had a bold vision for the future. His forces were determined, and his siege of the city would go down in history as one of the most impressive military campaigns of the Middle Ages. The Byzantine Empire, meanwhile, was in a state of desperation. The emperor, Constantine XI Palaiologos, knew that Constantinople's survival depended on a miracle. The city was surrounded on all sides by Ottoman forces, and the Byzantine army was vastly outnumbered. Constantine's only hope lay in the possibility of foreign aid. In the midst of his empire's decline, Constantine had appealed to the West for assistance, hoping that European powers would come to his aid. But the response was lukewarm at best. The West, particularly the Catholic powers, had little interest in saving a fellow Christian empire, especially one that had long been estranged from the Roman Catholic Church. The Pope, Nicholas V, had offered some assistance, but it was far too little to make a significant difference. The Ottomans, on the other hand, had the advantage of unity and a well-equipped army. They brought to bear an arsenal of artillery, including massive cannons capable of breaching the walls of Constantinople. These cannons, some of which were the largest ever built at the time, would prove to be the key to breaking the city's defenses. The Ottomans began their siege in April of 1453. From the beginning, they encircled the city, cutting off its trade routes and preventing any supplies from reaching the defenders. The Byzantine forces, already weakened by years of war and famine, were severely depleted. The walls of Constantinople, which had been considered impregnable for centuries, were put to the ultimate test. For weeks, the defenders held firm. The Byzantine army, though outnumbered, fought with determination. They were bolstered by a small contingent of mercenaries, including a group of Genoese soldiers led by the famous commander Giovanni Giustiniani. Despite their courage, the defenders could not hold out forever against the sheer might of the Ottoman army. As the days passed, the situation grew more dire. The walls were breached by the Ottoman cannons, and the defenders were forced to retreat within the inner walls of the city. The Ottomans, however, were relentless. Mehmed II employed various tactics to break the city's defenses, including the use of siege towers, which allowed his troops to scale the walls and engage in close combat with the defenders. Meanwhile, the Byzantine defenders tried to bolster their defenses, but it was clear that their situation was becoming increasingly hopeless. In May of 1453, the final assault began. The Ottomans launched an all-out attack, overwhelming the defenders and breaking through the weakened walls. The city was no longer able to hold out against the relentless Ottoman forces. Constantine XI, knowing that the end was near, gathered his remaining soldiers for one final stand. He led his forces into battle, but despite their bravery, the Byzantine defenders were overwhelmed. Constantine himself is believed to have died fighting in the streets, the last emperor of Byzantium to die defending his city. The fall of Constantinople was a momentous event that sent shockwaves through the medieval world. It marked the end of the Byzantine Empire, the last remnant of the Roman Empire, and the beginning of the Ottoman Empire's dominance in the region. The Ottomans would go on to control much of Southeast Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa, shaping the course of world history for centuries to come. The fall of Constantinople also had a profound impact on Europe. It forced European powers to seek new trade routes to Asia, leading to the Age of Exploration. The fall of the city marked the beginning of the end for the medieval world order and the rise of the modern age. The city of Constantinople, which had once been the center of the Orthodox Christian world, became the capital of the Ottoman Empire, and was renamed Istanbul. Under Ottoman rule, the city flourished as a center of culture, trade, and religion. The Hagia Sophia, which had been the jewel of Byzantine architecture, was converted into a mosque, symbolizing the changing religious and cultural landscape of the city. The fall of Constantinople also marked the end of an era in the history of warfare. The Ottomans had successfully employed new military tactics and technologies, such as large cannons, which would revolutionize siege warfare. The fall of the city also demonstrated the effectiveness of gunpowder artillery, which would play a crucial role in future conflicts. The legacy of the siege of Constantinople is still felt today. The fall of the city marked the end of an ancient civilization, but it also set the stage for the rise of a new empire and the transformation of the world order. The events of 1453 remain a powerful reminder of the fragility of empires and the shifting tides of history. The fall of Constantinople also had significant religious ramifications. The Byzantine Empire had long been a bastion of Orthodox Christianity, and its collapse marked a dramatic shift in the religious landscape of Eastern Europe and the Mediterranean. The Ottomans, being Muslim, introduced Islamic rule to the region. And with it, a new religious and cultural identity began to take shape in what was once the heart of Eastern Christianity. The transformation of the city of Constantinople into Istanbul was a profound symbol of this change. The Hagia Sophia, which had stood for nearly 1,000 years as a symbol of Christian faith and Byzantine glory, was converted into a mosque. This act was a powerful statement of the Ottomans' dominance and their commitment to spreading Islam throughout the region. The Ottoman Empire, in its expansion, played a pivotal role in connecting East and West. The Ottomans controlled important trade routes between Europe, Asia, and Africa, facilitating the exchange of goods, knowledge, and culture. This exchange led to the Renaissance in Europe, as scholars and traders gained access to ancient Greek and Roman texts that had been preserved in the Byzantine Empire. The fall of Constantinople thus contributed indirectly to the intellectual and cultural rebirth of Europe, as the rediscovery of classical knowledge helped fuel the rise of art, science, and philosophy during the Renaissance. The siege also had a profound impact on the art of warfare. The use of large cannon artillery during the siege marked a significant shift in military tactics. The Ottomans' innovative use of gunpowder weapons demonstrated the growing importance of firearms in warfare, a trend that would continue in future conflicts. The effectiveness of artillery in breaching the walls of Constantinople signaled the end of the medieval concept of impregnable fortifications. The siege of Constantinople was a turning point in military history, one that laid the groundwork for the future development of siege warfare and the use of heavy artillery. The aftermath of the fall of Constantinople also had a profound influence on the geopolitics of the region. The Ottomans, having conquered one of the most powerful and symbolic cities in the world, became a dominant force in both Europe and the Middle East. The rise of the Ottoman Empire, which lasted until the early 20th century, had far-reaching implications for the balance of power in the region. The Ottomans would go on to establish one of the largest and most enduring empires in history, controlling vast territories across Southeast Europe, Western Asia, and North Africa. The empire's influence would continue to shape the political and cultural landscape of the Mediterranean and beyond for centuries to come. The fall of Constantinople also marked the end of the Byzantine Empire's attempts to reclaim lost territories and its struggles to survive in a changing world. The Byzantine Empire had been in decline for centuries before its final collapse, its territory shrinking over time as it was gradually absorbed by the rising powers of the Ottoman Empire, the Latin West, and various Turkic and Slavic groups. The Byzantine Empire, once a center of learning, art, and religious influence, had been reduced to a mere shadow of its former self by the 15th century. The fall of Constantinople was the final chapter in the tragic story of the Byzantine Empire, a once great civilization that had struggled for survival in the face of overwhelming odds. The siege and subsequent fall of Constantinople also highlighted the vulnerabilities of even the most powerful empires. Despite its wealth, strategic location, and impressive military defenses, Constantinople could not withstand the relentless pressure from the Ottoman forces. The siege was a brutal reminder that no empire, no matter how mighty, is invulnerable to the forces of history. The events surrounding the fall of Constantinople had lasting effects on the world. The Ottoman conquest of the city ensured that the Ottomans would become the preeminent power in the eastern Mediterranean, dominating trade routes and exerting control over vast regions. The rise of the Ottoman Empire altered the course of history, shaping the political and cultural dynamics of Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa for centuries. The fall of Constantinople also had a lasting impact on the Christian world. It marked the end of the Byzantine Empire and the beginning of a new era in which the balance of power in the region would shift towards Islam. For many Christians, the fall of the city was seen as a tragic loss and a profound blow to their faith. In the centuries following the fall, many historians and scholars would look back on the fall of Constantinople as the end of an era, the final chapter in the history of the Roman Empire and the beginning of a new world order. Today, the legacy of the siege of Constantinople can still be seen in the city of Istanbul, which stands as a symbol of the intersection of cultures and religions. The city, once a great Christian metropolis, is now a vibrant, multicultural center of Islamic culture and history. The Hagia Sophia, which was converted into a mosque after the conquest, remains one of the most iconic landmarks in the world, symbolizing the complex history of the city and its transformation over the centuries. The fall of Constantinople was a defining moment in history, a turning point that changed the course of events and shaped the future of the world. It serves as a powerful reminder of the fragility of empires and the shifting tides of history. In the end, the fall of Constantinople was not just the collapse of a city, it was the end of an era, the closing of a chapter in the long, storied history of empires, and the beginning of a new world order.